Today, we're joined by Sunny Yang, who's currently doing a level 7 apprenticeship in accounting and finance at EY. Hi, Sunny. Great to have you on today.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Sunny's had a very interesting journey into his apprenticeship, which we'll explore. So I think the first question, which we like to start with, is take me back to what you were doing in school, Sunny. What careers were you thinking of and what subjects were you studying before, you fell into the world of apprenticeships?
Wow. Where do I start? So at school, I was doing everything. I was interested in everything. As part of the Air Cadets, I got to go flying, badminton. I then became quite a high level fencer, and I actually wanted to become a professional fencer. Believe it or not, that was one of my goals in life. I then, decided to take a gap year after I chose all of my universities. And my friend asked, "Well, why have you chosen these universities?" And I said, "Well, they've got great fencing clubs." didn't worry
Get
about
your
the
priorities
degrees.
straight. That's the main thing. Put yourself first. Choose your interests. Don't let no one. The worst case scenario, get your rapier out and go do them, London style.
Exactly. And obviously, I wasn't stupid. Even I thought, wow, should I really be choosing uni for this? So I decided, I went into a competition in Hungary, came back, and the whole country went into lockdown because of coronavirus. I had competitions planned. I was gonna, train, try out as a year as an athlete. I then realized, oh, that's not what I want to do. This is probably one of the hardest jobs in the world. And, in terms of like what I believed in, I just couldn't handle it.
Mm-hmm.
It was very difficult being an athlete, but also the statistics were just horrendous. You can get your funding cut at any time. There was so many factors that you couldn't control. The injuries, before you got into like big competitions or Olympics, the amount of money. It's a costly sport because, it's not just bring yourself to the competition. You have to bring a coach, physio, cardio.
It's the same with boxing. I've been boxing now for over a year and a half. I plan to do my first amateur fight end of next year, all for charity. And it's dedication, but also it's a lot of luck. Like, no matter how good you are, if you haven't got the right team around you, it's thing. So you've gone through all that. You've had a bit of a wake up call. Then I'm gathering you've discovered a degree apprenticeship and, well, a degree level apprenticeship. Let's get that right. For everyone watching, you don't actually need an accounting degree to become an accountant because you're not really registered. And all the degree apprenticeships in accounting are actually called degree level because they're level 7, which is masters. So technically they should be called a master's apprenticeship if we're being smart about it.
Yeah, and I think I would really want to touch on that because I also did a finance apprenticeship and I had no clue about that. And Sunny, what do you wish you knew about like becoming an accountant when you were 16 to 18 that you now know, which you feel like, oh my God, why didn't nobody tell me this sooner?
So much. I actually discovered EY and Deloitte and the accounting apprenticeships a lot later. I originally still wanted my law degree. My friends at uni called me up. I was like, don't come here. It's horrible. It's basically a Netflix subscription that you're paying like $9,000 a year for. It's all online, and even the food's delivered to your door and in biohazard suits or something. I just thought, wow, that's like the modern version of like prison. Literally
Swedish prison more so,
Yeah,
right? Because they get the room and get everything. You're just paying for it. They get it for free.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it was horrendous. And I thought, wow, that's not really what I want to do. And am I sure that I want to go into law? My dad's a lawyer. He used to take me to like meetings and stuff. But am I sure? I know my brother was quite sure he wants to go into law. He became an accountant. And, what I actually realized was that I really, really liked company law. I liked the company side of things. So I thought, you know what, let's try this accountancy program. I got the offer. Everyone around me, my community said, why aren't you going to uni, do a degree? And, especially coming from an Asian community, they believe it's a production line of school, good degree, good university, good job. that's not the case. And I think, so many people don't realize that that's not the case. Like, an apprenticeship puts you 3 years ahead of your cohort. You do the same qualification, you do the same work, and you get paid roughly the same. I mean, sure, grads at the start get paid a few thousand more, but they're also 3 years behind you. You're taking the same qualification at the same time. 3 years later for them,
Yep.
is a lot of time wasted for a few grand.
And they have like 50k plus student debt, which is like
They are. I can get onto that. They have a huge amount of student debt.
70,000 may we add right now. The census come out not so long ago that any student starting university as of September 2023 with the new interest rate on the loans, on average, we'll be paying about £70,000 with all the accumulated interest over 40 years. You'll be paying that off your whole life. And also what they've done is they've made it so that, you repay it back when you earn less money, which means, I can pay your debt off faster. No, that means that you're earning less money, say, because now the other jobs in the world are going to be like, okay, well, we'll lower it a bit, we'll pay them less. They care about paying their debt back. So you're earning like £200-300 less a month, and then your student debt is going to be paid out of that. So really, you're losing like £500 a month, give or take, on a lot of entry-level jobs.
And you don't have to be an accountant to figure that out.
No.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
But I think the saddest thing is that at school, I went to a grammar school where, at the start of the year, the head of sixth form was like, put your hand up if you're interested in an apprenticeship. So you can't blame them for not advertising it. 2 people out of 160 students put their hands up. Then you say, okay, so what's the point of us advertising it to 2 people? When you've got the other 158 students to worry about. It's not Oxford or Cambridge where it's a class of like 5 or 6. You have to go with the majority, especially when it's such a huge majority. And teachers always said, you'll love your time at uni. Don't worry about the debt. It's not debt at all. When I say stuff like that, I'm just like, okay, well, I'm also not a financial advisor. Please do not take this as financial advice or you get sued. But when teachers say that, people seem to take it as gospel. But last time I checked, none of my teachers at school were qualified financial advisors. And if you took this debt of £70,000 to a financial advisor, they'd be like, no.
No, don't worry about it. It's fine. It's just a bit of debt. It's fine. It's just a bit of debt. You can pay it off in free like you do with Klarna. It's fine. Not a stress at all.
And they say, don't worry, it's not actual debt. Well, what does that mean? Like, okay, so is that considered in your mortgage applications? Yes, it is, because you're assessed on like how much you would be able to afford to give back. So yeah, technically it does. Sure, you don't have to pay it back until you earn a certain amount above threshold. I think it's like 22 grand if I'm right.
Now, yeah.
But people forget the 10 or 12% interest rate on the current loans.
Yeah, and like with 7%, they want to like go up every single year, and that's going to compound.
Exactly.
It's like having a really, really bad mortgage.
Very much so. And the fact that you have to pay it back after the 22 grand really doesn't do any justice, because I think it's 10%, right, mandatory that you have to pay back over that amount.
And can I just say as well, right, for everyone watching this, if you have a degree level apprenticeship in accounting or just a normal degree apprenticeship, high chance you're going to get paid more than 22 grand to start with. So exactly. You would finish your degree, say that, world changes, right? You do English literature and no one's actually writing with a quill anymore. They're actually using ChatGPT, and you have to go work in Tesco. Then, you'll find that a degree apprenticeship will pay you more. And guess what? You're not in the debt. So tell me, what is it like? Hader, I know you've done yours.
Yep.
What is it like doing your accounting qualification, and who are you doing it with?
Can I just say one thing before that, back to your last point, is that, as an accountant, I know that people like to plan loads of complicated things, but they don't consider the easiest numbers, which is if you pay off 10% over 22 grand, if your starting salary, let's say you got 70k debt, is not 92k a year straight out of university, you are not going to pay that debt back. That debt is going to increase.
Accumulate. Yeah, it's going to accumulate over time.
Right. So if you think that, going to university is still worthwhile, which I understand, or money's probably not an issue, right? if you're confident that you can get a salary of 92 grand a year as soon as you come out of uni, then I would say, why not go to uni? I say that very sarcastically. But you know, if you did, you'd certainly be a very smart individual, in which case you could probably get into some of the best apprenticeships that are offered.
Yeah,
where you probably get paid way more.
And a lot of these, I mean, these accounting qualifications are internationally recognized as well. So a lot of people are not necessarily working in the UK after completing these apprenticeships as well. It opens up multiple doors even outside of the UK for people who want to, you know, take their skills elsewhere as well. So yeah, going back to Carla's earlier question, tell us a bit about, I guess, how your apprenticeship setup works, who you study with, and yeah, how are you finding it so far?
Yeah, oh, great. But so my apprenticeship setup works. Basically, this apprenticeship's run alongside this professional qualification. That's key, is that they aren't really together. They are kind of together, but you get a level 7 apprenticeship and you get the qualification. Now, for me, at least, that qualification is worth way more than the apprenticeship is, but you get both of them at the same time. And realistically, it's not the endpoint assessment that you have to worry about as much. It's the world-class qualification, which is quite difficult, but achievable.
So could you tell the viewers at home, what is the difference between, say, AQA, I think the one you're doing, right?
ACA.
ACA, sorry. ACA level 7, you know, compared to doing a degree. What is the big difference between you've done this qualification and someone's done an accounting degree? How does that set you apart from them?
Yeah, so what people don't understand is that an accounting degree is actually not a qualifying degree, which means you don't actually get that qualification, which means, you know, even after you spent 3 years at university, and my brother did this, he did accounting and finance up until master's level, he still had to then train an accounting firm for 3 or 4 years to get that. Well, he did an ACCA degree, right? And, you know, those professional qualifications, they require 3 or 4 years of work experience. They also require you to take, you know, 10 to 15 quite difficult exams. I don't actually know how many it is for SEMA, but I suspect
roughly around the same. It was, I mean, because I did level 4 AAT and then moved up to level 7 SEMA. In total, I did about 20 exams. So I think with SEMA, it was about 12 if you'd started from having done AAT previously. But yeah, lots of exams basically.
It is
yeah, lots of exams and very tough exams as well. Because if it goes to master's degree level, it is academically challenging, and that's exactly why I wanted to pick that kind of caliber of apprenticeship as well, because I knew I'd be getting the best of both worlds. I'd be being pushed academically using all my, you know, A's and A stars sort of mindset revision techniques and things like that, but also getting practical work experience too.
Yeah, which is fantastic. I took a very different path because 2 years on from that, I then changed jobs within my firm, and they said I became a corporate tax advisor rather than working in audit and financial services. And my team said to me, you know, if you want a CTA, which is a, you know, qualified tax qualification as well, we'll pay for you to do those exams. Now, each of those exams, you know, the study period and the exams itself is about 3 to 4 grand. So you can imagine, you know, with the 15, 20 odd exams, that's a hefty amount if you aren't getting sponsored by your firm. Right. But I had the option to incorporate that. So I'm now doing 2 sets of professional qualifications, which most people don't even do one. And that adds a massive salary boost, you know, onto your, you know, personal worth. And it's hugely beneficial in terms of like business knowledge, etc. You get taught in law, you get taught in tax, you get taught in business management systems. You know, different qualifications will do something different. But, you know, these people who have these qualifications, you know, a while ago they did a research thing, and it was 14 CEOs in the FTSE 100 had an ACA qualification. I think 2 for SEMA and 1 for ICAS.
Absolutely.
14 for ACA was more than any university degree that was shared between the FTSE 100.
So from going off what you're saying from a complete outside perspective, why would you go and do a accounting degree at a university? Because to me, it's just like a ticket to get into a nightclub, right? Which is the firm you're going to, and then you're gonna have to stay there. So with a degree apprenticeship, you basically are springboarding. You're on the fast track. You're cutting the line, going through the fast track.
Yeah, and it's key to. So in that situation, the advice I actually got from someone who was an accountant was that if you do want to go to university, do everything but accounting, because like it will give you more of an edge. Like, for example, it's better to, for example, like have, I don't know, like a chemistry degree, and then you'll just apply for the same training as like someone with accounting and finance, except you've got a chemistry background and like an accounting and finance background. Whereas just doing accounting hardcore for 3 years and then doing accounting exams, it's almost like duplication in a way, because you lack the experience.
Well, you could argue it would make it easier, right? You could argue that, I've done 3 years in this, so then when I go to the firm, maybe I won't have the real world practical knowledge with the upcoming exams. There'll be a breeze. Or would you then say, Sonny, that the a ACA QA qualification you're doing is harder than doing the degree itself, or are they the same caliber?
100% harder.
Okay.
That the ACA is harder than the degree.
Really?
It's a master's level. But interesting you say that. I've done a lot of research because I'm the current chair for the Chartered Accountants Student Society of London, the youngest and the first Chinese chair in the last 150 years.
That's amazing, by the way.
Yeah,
I just want to
kudos to you.
As an apprentice, to be in that position as well, on top of all the other things you're doing, is not easy. So I just want to give like kudos.
Yeah, and say another opportunity there. At 21 years old, here I was managing a registered charity that had $250,000 in investments and in the bank, and that's on Companies House, by the way. So you can fact check that. We get reviewed independently every year because of the scale of the business. And it's been around for quite a long time. But back to what I was saying, what Carlo was saying, which is why. I can't think of any reason. I mean, in fact, I actually wanted to do law degrees when I went to university, solely because the accounting degree didn't offer that much. Now, there are degrees that exist right now, and I know Queen Mary is one of the universities that do them, that they do some ACA exams with their degree, but they don't do all of the ACA exams. And how these exams work is that basically you've got certificate level, professional level, and advanced level. And the advanced level exams, the last few exams, they're also the harder level exams. So it does get harder year upon year. They do the first few and say, look, you get 10 exemptions. Well, actually, the 5 exams that you're taking are probably the most challenging ones out of them. So, the 10 exemptions you get, you can probably do those exams. I know PwC do those exams within the first 5 months or 6 months.
Yes, that's quick. And remember, people forget apprenticeship. You actually get a lot of special treatment, You come in with a degree, you're going to have like this prerequisite of like, okay, this guy knows what he's doing. So here's a boatload of work. Here's a boatload of exams. Knock your head off. And that's going to be very, very mentally struggling, at least with you can pull the apprenticeship card, as we call it. But in this case, you actually need to say, hey, look, I need support. And as well, let's get this right. You're working with people who have most likely done these exams. All right. The syllabus might have changed over the years, but the core fundamentals are there. So you can actually ask some questions like, hey, I'm struggling with this. Better than being in front of a room full of other university kids who are like, what do I do?
Yeah.
I think the biggest question that I was asked, and I think I read this somewhere else, so it wasn't really asked, but I read it, was that, what would you rather do? And I think, it's Robert Kiyosaki, he wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and he asked this question, which was, where would you rather be studying? With a lecturer who probably gets 60 to 100K a year, or someone who's earning their millions at one of these top firms that can be your mentor? Partners at EY average out about $1 million a year.
Yeah.
So, if you want to go for the pure education side or the learning side, who's going to teach you more about accounting and finance?
I can guarantee you pick 10 people off the street, they are going to say, I would rather work with someone who's a partner at a big company. Maybe back in the day, but we're in the age where with OpenAI, information is becoming a lot more accessible. So I don't know why someone would choose that. Again, there are some academics. Well, you're an academic.
As in like the caliber of students who go for these.
Yeah, you are. I'm not.
As in, like, so for example, having that academic background to me is an advantage because, like Sonny said, these exams are so hard, especially the last exams, mate. I was struggling. Like, they are hard. They're not for everyone. That's why you need to be almost very sure that that is a career for you. And I think touching on accounting as a career, what are some stereotypes you'd like to debunk, Sonia? Because I know a lot of people say, oh, but accounting is boring, you're not working on anything exciting, like why would you want to train as an accountant, you're on fest. What would you like to share based on your experience to kind of shatter a lot of those stereotypes about, you know, oh, you're just going to be like number crunching alone and it's boring and you won't get any, you know, exciting opportunities as an accountant?
I'm going to say something controversial.
Okay, go
on. Two things, actually. One thing I just remembered is that I've seen very few people in my firm, which is a Big Four firm, with an accounting degree. Most have like law degrees or, you know, chemistry degrees even. Second is that no one goes into accounting wanting to be an accountant. I think that is probably the most controversial thing, but you know, I remember hearing that and I was like, surely not. But actually, no, they don't. You know, accounting teaches you something fundamental about life, which is how to manage money, how to run a business, how to keep something alive, and how to be financially responsible, which is so key if you want to be successful in your career.
I mean, stuff they should teach in schools, right?
Yeah.
Rishi comes out and says, we need our kids to learn more math. And I'm like, I'm all for that. But what math are they teaching you? Would you say then, like, you know, I'm an advocate for this. Again, complete outside, I failed my GCSE maths 3 times, got it on the 4th attempt, right? Would you say that it's like required, it should be, for all these extra math hours to learn some basic business and accounting skills then to prepare yourself? Because that's what I'm getting from this.
Again, I'm going to say something controversial, and
Speak your mind.
It's probably because, like, I mean, I grew up most of my life in the UK, but I'm very close to people from China. You know, I used to go back there all the time. My dad works there. I've got most of my family is there. In fact, only my brother is here. My brother was also educated in China. The UK wants to compete with the rest of the world in this made-up metric of how education should be measured.
Should be. Emphasis. Should be
measured. Now, kids in China, they wake up probably 5 or 6. They start school at about 7 or 8. They end school at about 6 p.m. And before President Xi Jinping made it, you know, tightened the laws about like private tuition and stuff, they would study until about 9, 10 in private one-to-one classes, or you know, batch together till 10, 11. You know, go to sleep at 12 and wake up again at 6 the next day, or 5:30, depending on where you are. They are definitely going to have a better education in maths or language than we are in the UK, just because it doesn't take a genius to work out that the sheer amount that you will get in your education in your early years cannot compare.
Yeah.
Right. But we seem to be flogging this dead horse of, you know, going, but we need to compete with these countries. Well, you know, we've got something that's very special to us. America's got something that's very special to them, which is, you know, I'm trying to think of the right word, but they install like this level of independence amongst their students, where they go, you know, explore, go coding, go do tech. You can't fit that into your like 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. schedule if you're just hardcore studying maths and languages and stuff. Credit to them, you know, China's now got a very well-educated population.
Yeah.
But that's not something we can replicate in the UK.
I was homeschooled from the age of 12. My mum took me out of school because, to be honest with you, the British education system failed me personally, and I went back and get all my A-level qualifications to the equivalent and how I've got my degree apprenticeship. I think it's a systemic change. I don't think you can't say to someone who's gone to school for the last 8 years of their life, they might be like 15, oh, okay, yeah, you're waking up and doing these extra 2 hours, or now school finishes at 5. you can't really do that. I feel like it's something you'll have to bring in to people who just might be starting secondary school. You've got to gradually do it. You can't force it. I do agree, though, that we should have more maths. Maths not being algebra, right? Quadratic equations. You know, we're not talking about that. We're talking about actual real world valuable skills here.
Yeah, I think I agree. Something fundamental and something that's useful for life, certainly. And maths does go into that. I mean, it is worrying when you see some people that, you know, can't do the basic times tables, and, you know, you should be able to, I personally believe. But that's not secondary school algebra. You know, you're probably never going to use that, you know, in life. I can 100% agree. I don't go into work in accounting and finance and go, you know what, I need trigonometry to solve this tax problem. Not the case. But yeah, I think, you know, there should be a basic maths foundation, basic English foundation, just to teach people how to read and write. I think that's true. But we have this freedom, and the UK has this fantastic education system already. I think it gets downplayed a bit, which is you get to choose what A-levels you take. In Asian countries, you don't have much choice at all. I chose philosophy, maths, English, literature, and economics. Philosophy was philosophy, religious studies, and ethics. I also did 2 BTECs on the side in sport, just because.
Yeah, the fencing, right? Yeah, which is what you was doing. Yeah,
government-sponsored program where, you know, during like term, you know, the holiday times, I could do competitions and I could get lectured by some of the best physios or coaches in the world, in the UK certainly. That was all government sponsored. What I don't want is universities now to go, look, if you're going to do a law degree, you have to do English, you have to do history, you have to do essay subjects, you have to do this, and this, because you don't get a full education. I believe that you need a very fulfilled full education of doing things that you are really interested in, because that's where we get our advantage compared to other countries. I solidly believe in that. Apprenticeships are the same. It's not, you have to learn this, you have to learn, sure, you have to do professional qualifications, but you get to work with different clients. You get to work in the banking industry. You get to work with companies. You get to see how they operate. That is a full education. You get to talk to very, very successful people, CEOs, and the partners, of course. In casual conversation, you will learn something, you know?
Definitely.
And that's not, you know, people think I do an apprenticeship, therefore I don't study. Well, no, like I study every day, probably harder than most people.
Yeah, and the key thing is you're given that free pass almost to explore your curiosity. For example, like even on my finance apprenticeship, I got to choose which placements I was interested in and I wanted to work in. So you can really take your career in your own direction. You don't have to be pigeonholed into working. And you clearly did that with the tax side of things, right? It was an area you wanted to explore, and now you're getting an additional internationally recognized qualification off the back of it, which is just
it's better. Like a massive networking opportunity in itself. Like, of course, the work, to be honest, the work is and is not important. I feel like it is really your connections. And I think that's where a lot of university students can go wrong, is being too academic or too sheltered can be a very big disadvantage.
Into one niche, specialized subject.
Yes, I'm that's what I'm pretty much trying to say.
Which is fair enough if you want to, you know, if you do a history degree and you love the Cold War between a certain date and a certain date, fair enough. If you want to drop out of that, that's going to be very challenging,
of course.
I believe, right? But this brings me to one of the saddest things that I ever hear, and this like breaks my heart, honestly, every time I hear it, because I advocate apprenticeships, you know, quite a lot, because apprenticeships have done so much for me. I have, you know, sixth form students, they come up to me and they say, I don't know what I want to do in life, therefore I'm going to go to university and that will give me time to think about it. No, that will give you 70k in debt, because funnily enough, I do career talks for grads as well, and I do career fairs, just because EY gives us the opportunity to do so. I've also done interviews with people, and one of the, shockingly, the most common things I hear is, I don't actually know what I want to do. So I hear that sixth form, so they choose to go to uni. Then I hear that again when they finish uni.
And then they go to their masters, and then before you know it, you're in more debt. And then you think, well, what can I do? Oh, you know what? this is a bit of controversial, then I'll become a teacher because I don't know nothing else. Oh, now the government doesn't pay me. Oh, now I don't want to. Now I don't know what I really want to do. So guess what? I'm not going to be able to teach the next generation the full amount of what to do. It's a perpetual cycle that, unfortunately, it's not. I reckon it is going to go away, but I reckon it's conversations like this that's going to really shine some light on that subject. Probably get a bit of backlash, but at the same time, it's good to be honest. Like you can't dedicate yourself to one whole thing. It's better to wear many hats than one. And you know what? We was at the Multicultural Apprenticeship Awards on Thursday in Birmingham. All three of us were, and Safar, which was the founder of the Multicultural Apprenticeship Award, said that he wants it to be so that you can go to your family and say, I am doing an apprenticeship, and it holds, if not more weight than going to university. That's what I believe everyone who advocates for apprentices or apprenticeships, that's the end goal.
Yeah, like university has become this snooze button, sadly, in society of like, I'm panicked, don't know what to do, university. And I think that's why I see a lot of students reach out to me in particular who are basically looking for apprenticeships whilst in their first year of university. And that's why I always give the advice that a gap year where you've really thought about what you want to do is not a bad idea at all, because there's no financial like consequences associated with that decision. And touching on what you said earlier, Sonia, I do think accounting teaches you a lot of kind of financial literacy by default because of the nature of the industry, but the average person doesn't really get that education, unfortunately, and it can hold people, you know, really back. And your point around giving people a free pass to explore their interests, I really agree with. I don't feel like you should just be shoehorned into like 3 particular subjects because you're interested in a particular career. I do think you'll perform best in something you're actually curious about. Like, for example, people might ask me like, why did you do A-level biology if you know, trained as an accountant? It's like, well, because I was interested in science, and fundamentally I did like really well because I had a genuine passion for the subject. Not everything needs to translate into a career. I agree with that. But at the same time, don't just get into something without thinking it through, particularly when there are, you know, financial complications associated with that.
And I live by everything that I say. So, you know, for GCSE, for A levels, I dropped everything that I got an A star and an A in to do subjects that I really wanted. I got, I think it's like a 6 and a 7 in English literature and English language. I got the 6 in English literature, which was a B. I then wanted to do that for A level because I showed a genuine interest for literature. I later found out at EY that I actually had dyslexia, which is probably why I struggled with the spelling and, you know, the writing coherently as I did. But I really liked reading books, and honestly, that just made me like reading books more, and they have become massive teachers and lessons in my lifetime. But now I want to give like, probably I think the most important advice, I think this is to sixth form students, that this podcast, you know, I hope that they are watching, is what would you, because at 18 years old, I didn't know what I wanted to do in my life. Sure, I wanted to be a lawyer because my dad was a lawyer, but I honestly didn't know the first thing about going into law. And I had an internship at a law firm. Right. So, you know, what's going to teach you more about what you're going to decide to do with the rest of your life? Is it going to uni and learning about a subject that you've chosen? Or is it going to a professional services firm? And I say professional services firm in particular because you get access to a lot of clients. So I've got like 15 clients on the go at the moment. Some are in pharmaceuticals, some are in sports, some are in, you know, technology, some are in like, you know, research and a bunch of wonderful things. I get to talk to their CEOs, I get to talk to their staff, and I get to, you know, see what they do on a day-to-day basis, right? Surely that is going to be the moment, if any, of going, I like what he's
doing. And
can
I just say as well, you're going to get someone that's going to say, oh, you're just lucky. I said, well, not really, because you just applied like everyone else. You didn't have your dad that way. You might have been a lawyer, but you didn't go into law. You purposely tried to say, no, I didn't want to do that. I went and done, you know, well, look, accounting and finance and tax instead. So, well, I just want to say thank you very much. That was a really good point. I can see why you're successful. For anyone that wants to find you and everything you're associated with, where can they find you?
Probably on LinkedIn, and, you know, feel free to ask me any questions. I'm always around. There's, you know, so much that I do, you know, this rings particular interest with me because, bringing up the next generation of people like myself who were confused, who were from, probably a herd or a tribe that, were advised differently according to traditional norms when, every year is different.
Yeah.
Come and ask me questions and I will tell you truthfully because I've experienced them. I see more than most I'd like to believe because I see the lives of 7,000 ACA students in London. Most of them are grads. A lot of them are apprentices. In fact, all of them are apprentices under the apprenticeship scheme. And I see their lives and I see, how they progress. And I've spoken, my mentor is actually the first Black female president of the London Accounting Society.
That's amazing.
And I get regular contact. In fact, the president of CASL, which is the Chartered Accountant Student Society that I'm chair of, he's actually the president of ICAW next year.
Awesome.
So, if anything, these guys have been around a lot. They know what they're doing and they constantly advise me.
Yeah. No, I love that. Not only are you doing brilliantly in your own right with everything you've, accomplished on your apprenticeship and navigating the world of work and deciding what's best for you, you're actively finding opportunities to make it easier for the next, generation of talent, which is exactly what we're passionate about. And it's exactly why we started this podcast, really. We want to get stories like Sunny's out there so people can see that university is not the only option. And particularly if you feel like you're just doing it to hit that snooze button, there are lots of opportunities out there and really great ways to learn. And an apprenticeship is just one of the examples, in particularly, in accounting and finance in a professional services firm. So I just want to say thank you so much for listening to today's episode, and we can't wait to have another exciting guest that you'll hear from.
Thanks for watching the Apprentago podcast. New episodes will be available every Friday at 5 p.m. GMT. If you enjoyed, then please leave a like and make sure to rate us 5 stars. It's been your host Carlo. Take care.